In this Blender tutorial, you'll be learning how to create a simple ocean scene. We'll be going through how to create your ocean using the ocean modifier, changing some settings to make it look better, adding foam, giving it a material, as well as setting up an HDRI for our scene. Start by deleting the starting cube and add a plane to your scene. Go to the render settings and set the render engine to cycles. Also, remember to set your device to GPU compute if you have one. You can also use Eevee with ray tracing enabled to render your scene faster with decent quality. Make sure the plane is selected, then navigate to the Modifiers tab and add an Ocean modifier to it. The Ocean modifier works on any mesh object. Next, we want to increase the viewport resolution to something reasonable for your setup so we can see our changes more clearly. I'll set mine to about 16 and choose a random seed number. Under the Waves tab, set the scale to about 2, then enable Foam and give the data layer a name. Next, we'll need to give our ocean a material and set up our foam. So head over to the Shading tab, create a new material, and add an Add Shader node, as well as an Emission node to it. Then connect Principled BSDF into the first input of Add Shader, Emission into the second, then Add Shader into Material Output. Now we'll add an Attribute node as well as a color ramp for controlling the spread of our foam. Connect their color values to each other and enter the name of our data layer inside the name area. Then name needs to match the one we typed into our ocean earlier exactly. Congrats! We can now control our foam coverage through the color ramp. For the water material, set the base color in the Principled BSDF to a dark blue. Set the roughness to around 0. You can set it a bit higher if 0 looks too shiny for your tastes. Finally, set the transmission to 1. The last thing we need to do for our ocean is add some movement, so navigate back to your ocean modifier. First, make sure your playhead is on the first frame. Hover your mouse over the time parameter, press the I key on your keyboard to add a keyframe, then go to the last frame, change the time value to about 5 and set another keyframe. Select both of the keyframes in your timeline, right-click and under Interpolation mode, set the mode to linear. Now when we play our scene, the ocean will move. Great job for getting this far. The next step is adding some realistic lighting to our scene. We can do this by adding an HDRI to the scene. To add an HDRI, we can either do it manually or automatically through an add-on like Blender Kit. I'll leave my affiliate link to it in the description if you'd like to try it, but we'll be doing it manually. To start, download the HDRI from the link in the description. Next, navigate to the Shading tab. From here, we need to switch the shader type from Object to World. Add an environment texture and connect it to the background node. Now, click on the File icon in the environment texture and select the file we downloaded. You can also add a Hue Saturation Value node in between the environment texture and the background node to add some color to the scene. We can also adjust the strength value on the background node to make the scene brighter. If you'd like to rotate the HDRI itself, you can add a Texture Coordinate node as well as a Mapping node. Connect the object value from the texture coordinate to the vector of the mapping node, and connect the mapping node to your environment texture. Now, you'll be able to move your HDRI around in any way you want. For the last step, we'll change some settings to get ready for rendering. First, navigate to your ocean modifier and set the repeat X and Y to 3, and we'll set the render resolution to 24. Next, we'll move over to the render settings. If you're using Eevee, you can skip this part, but if you'll be using cycles for the render, move down to the render settings and change the max samples to 256. You can use a lower number if your render is taking too long. Denoising helps to get rid of most of the imperfections. Go to the Output tab. Here we can tell Blender what resolution we want to render in, as well as where and how to output our animation. Keep in mind, changing the resolution will increase render times. I'll keep my render resolution as is for this video. Now we can choose how we want the animation to be saved. For this video, I'll render it directly to a video file. but it is considered best practice to render it as an image sequence. So we'll click on the little file icon under the output section and choose where we want to save our file. Then we'll set media type to video. Now we can render our animation. One last thing. If you want to change how long your animation should be, you can either set the frame range under the output settings, or you can set the start and end frame down here. So let's render our animation. Press Ctrl F12 and your animation will start rendering. When it finishes, it should look something like this.